You are watching a football match, not as a fan this time, as someone who has decided to pay attention differently. The stadium holds 80,000 people, each one paid to be there, millions more paid to watch from home. Brands paid hundreds of millions to appear on the boards behind the goal. A single tournament generates over $7 billion in economic activity, and almost none of it flows to the people watching. You have decided that this cycle, something flows to you. This is not about predictions. It is not about luck. It is about understanding how money moves during the largest sporting event on the planet and positioning yourself before, during, and after it moves. The World Cup runs every 4 years. That is not a detail. That is the entire strategy. For years of build-up, for years of capital accumulating in specific places, for years of brands, broadcasters, sponsors, and platforms preparing to deploy enormous amounts of money into a single concentrated window. You are going to follow that money, step by step. Step 1. You understand the cycle before it begins. Most people engage with the World Cup in the final weeks. They pick a team, they buy a shirt, they watch the games. The money was made long before the first match. 12 to 18 months before the tournament begins, the economic machinery starts moving. Host nation infrastructure spending accelerates. Broadcaster deals are finalized. Sponsor commitments are locked. Equipment manufacturers release tournament collections. Platforms begin acquiring streaming rights. You are not watching any of this as a fan. You are watching it as someone who understands that predictable demand creates predictable opportunity. You begin mapping the cycle. Which companies hold official sponsorship rights? Which broadcasters paid for exclusive coverage? Which platforms are positioned to benefit from the viewership surge? Which apparel brands supply the kits for the largest national teams? You write it down, not as a wish list, as a research document. This is the work that most people never do because it does not feel like investing. It feels like homework. But this is where the edge is built, not in the final weeks when everyone is paying attention, in the quiet months when almost no one is. Step 2. You identify the categories, not the outcomes. You do not know which team will win. Nobody does. Anyone who tells you the winner is the key to your returns is selling you something that doesn't hold. What you do know is which categories benefit regardless of outcome. Broadcasting platforms benefit whether France wins or Brazil wins. Viewership does not depend on a specific result. It depends on participation, drama, and scale. The World Cup delivers all three every single cycle without exception. Sports betting platforms benefit from volume, not outcome. The number of bets placed during a World Cup is measured in the billions. The platform collects margin on every transaction regardless of who wins. Official kit suppliers benefit from tournament performance of the teams they outfit. But more than that, they benefit from the cultural moment. Kit sales spike during tournament windows in ways that are consistent, documented, and predictable. Travel and hospitality in the host nation benefit from infrastructure that was built specifically for this event. Hotels, transport, food, and services all compress their gains into a narrow window with extreme demand. You are not picking a winner. You are identifying the infrastructure through which money must flow regardless of the result on the pitch. Step 3. You build your position early. 6 to 9 months before the tournament, you begin allocating capital. Not everything at once. Structured. Deliberate. You look at publicly traded companies with direct exposure to the categories you identified. You are not looking for obscure plays. You are looking for documented, transparent exposure to a predictable demand event. A major sportswear company that supplies kits to 8 of the 32 competing nations. A global broadcaster whose ad revenue is tied to live sports viewership. A platform whose user acquisition cost drops dramatically during major sporting events because the content brings the audience to them. You are buying the thesis, not the excitement. The thesis is simple. A known event with known economic scale is approaching. These companies will benefit. The market has not yet priced in the full magnitude of that benefit because the tournament is still months away and markets are reactive, not anticipatory. You build your position. You document your reasoning. You set a time horizon. You are not trading around the tournament. You are holding through it. Step 4. You understand the amplification window. The tournament begins. Something changes in the market that you have been waiting for. Attention arrives. Billions of people are now engaged with the same event simultaneously. Brands that have been building toward this moment are now spending. Broadcasters are selling ad inventory at premium rates. Platforms are reporting user surges. The companies you identified 6 months ago are now in the spotlight. This is the amplification window. It is short, for weeks, and within those for weeks, the market begins repricing the exposure you already hold. You do not panic buy during this window. You already have your position. You watch, you assess, you make small adjustments based on performance data, not emotion. You also pay attention to what is happening outside the markets. Consumer behavior data, viewership numbers, merchandise sell-through rates. These are leading indicators of earnings reports that will come after the tournament ends. The market is not fully efficient during major cultural events. Emotional participation distorts pricing in both both directions. Your job during the amplification window is not to get excited. It is to stay analytical when everyone around you is not. Step 5. You exit with intention. The final is played. A winner is crowned. The world reacts. And within 72 hours, the cultural moment begins to fade. This is the window you have been preparing for. The exit window. Not because the companies you hold are suddenly bad businesses, because the specific catalyst you identified, the tournament, is now complete. The premium that the market placed on World Cup exposure begins to decompress. Valuations that stretched during the tournament begin returning toward their baseline. You exit not because something went wrong. You exit because the thesis has completed its cycle. The event happened. The capital moved. You captured part of that movement. You document everything. Entry price. Exit price. The reasoning at each stage. What you got right. What you mispriced. This document is more valuable than the return itself because the World Cup comes back in for years and you will be better positioned next time because you were honest with yourself this time. Step 6. You calculate what you actually built. The number matters less than the process, but let's be direct about the number. If you allocated $20,000 across the categories you identified with an average return of 18% to 25% during the tournament window, you generated $3,600 to $5,000 in returns from a single cycle. That is not $100,000. Not yet, but this is cycle 1. You are 25 years old and you have now completed a full structured investment cycle around a major global event. You understand the mechanics. You know what to look for earlier. You know which signals mattered and which ones were noise. Cycle 2. You allocate $40,000. Your pattern recognition is sharper. Your entry timing is earlier. Your exit is cleaner. The same 20% return on a larger base produces $8,000. Cycle 3. You have been compounding the returns from the previous cycles back into the position. Your base is now $65,000. A 22% return produces $14,300. Cycle 4. Your base is approaching $90,000. Your process is refined across 3 tournaments. Your network has expanded. You have access to data and analysis you did not have in cycle 1. The same disciplined approach now produces returns that begin crossing into the $20,000 to $25,000 range in a single cycle. For cycles, 16 years, $100,000 built through a repeating, learnable, improvable process that you execute once every 4 years. You did not need a prediction. You needed a process. The part nobody tells you. The reason most people don't make money from events like this is not lack of opportunity. The opportunity is visible. The economic scale is public. The beneficiaries are identifiable. The reason is timing. People engage at the wrong point in the cycle. They buy when the excitement is highest. That is when the premium is already priced in. They sell when the disappointment arrives. That is when the value is lowest. They do this every cycle and they conclude that the market cannot be anticipated. The market can be anticipated. Not perfectly, but structurally. The World Cup will happen. The money will move. The categories will benefit. This is not a prediction. This is a pattern. And patterns reward the people who study them quietly, position themselves early, and execute without emotion when the moment arrives. You started watching differently. That is where it begins.